0523 local time. Strait of Hormuz. The forward radar console flashes red. Not interference, not sea clutter. A solid surface contact. Fast, deliberate, and closing. The officer of the deck doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't have to. The bridge contracts into silence as bearings are called and repeated, every number short and exact. The distance falls in half-mile steps. The destroyer stays on course. Outside, dawn hangs low over the water, pale light spreading across a shipping lane already packed with tankers and bulk carriers moving through the Narrows. Inside the Combat Information Center, tracks are sorted into a clear picture. One contact stands apart. No AIS, no commercial signature. Speed climbing beyond what would make sense for a safe transit in this channel. Contact accelerating. The words arrive flat and controlled. They do not need emphasis. At 0524, the ship's long-range optics lock on. Electro-optical feeds sharpen steel and spray into focus. A hull appears against the glare, dark on the water. Iranian. Close enough now to read the posture of the deck, the angle of the bow, the intention suggested by pure geometry. The first bridge-to-bridge hail goes out, plain and professional. International waters. Identify yourself. State your intentions. The radio returns only static. No one seems surprised. The destroyer does not maneuver. Not yet. Helm steady, speed steady. The watch team already understands the geometry. Closest point of approach is narrowing. 9 nautical miles, then 7. In these waters, that is already close. The contact increases speed again. On the bridge, one hand rests on the rail. The captain watches the plot without expression. This is not a moment for speeches. It is a moment for documentation. Every bearing change is recorded. Every second gets a timestamp. Cameras keep rolling. Systems keep listening. Below, the electronic warfare suite comes fully alive. Not to interfere, not to overwhelm, but to listen. Emissions are cataloged. Faint sweeps are traced and tagged. Patterns begin to form. The ship does not answer them. It takes them in. A second hail goes out, this time with distance and CPA stated clearly and without ambiguity. Alter course, maintain safe separation. Again, nothing. The range drops below 6 miles. On deck, the 5-inch gun mount turns a few degrees. Nothing more, not a threat. Just a message visible to anyone watching through glass. A quiet sign that the ship is alert. Condition. 3 is set, key stations are manned, routine, rehearsed, almost dull in its precision. That is exactly the point. The destroyer does not escalate. It gets ready. The Iranian vessel continues in. Cameras catch movement near the forward deck. Personnel appear, then slip out of frame. No weapons visibly manned, no flags raised, only motion. Heat signatures shifting against cold steel. CPA is recalculated. 3.12 miles and still shrinking. Inside the CIC, no one speculates. Speculation offers nothing. Data does. The contact's speed profile is logged. Course stability is noted. The silence on the radio becomes its own kind of signal. The helicopter is brought to readiness. Rotors still. Crew strapped in. No launch order, not yet. Air presence is leverage, and leverage is not used early. Outside, the wake of a tanker cuts across the destroyer's bow, a reminder of how little room this water actually gives. There is no space here for mistakes. A turn at the wrong moment risks more than a close pass. It risks a chain of consequences no one wants. The Iranian vessel shifts heading by only a few degrees, just enough to probe. The destroyer does not mirror the move. The bridge remains quiet. The kind of quiet that comes only from trust in procedure. Another hail. Shorter now. Sharper. This is a U.S. Navy warship operating lawfully. Your approach is unsafe. No reply. The range falls below 3 miles. No alarms. No shouting. Only the steady rhythm of reports and the low hum of systems doing exactly what they were built to do. The destroyer is not waiting for permission to protect itself. It is waiting for the other ship to reveal what it intends to be. And in that waiting, measured in minutes and fractions of a mile, the balance starts to change. Because every second the contact presses closer, it reveals more. Every unanswered call reduces the number of explanations left. At 0534, the plot steadies for a moment. The Iranian vessel holds its line. No sudden movement, no withdrawal, just speed, just purpose. 0536 local time. The contact does not slow, it corrects. 5 degrees to port, then steadies again. A shift small enough to seem harmless on a chart, but large enough to tighten the geometry. In the Strait of Hormuz, 5 degrees can separate a parallel transit from a deliberately close pass. The destroyer stays on track. Traffic density increases as the sun climbs. A southbound tanker threads the lane to port. Another northbound silhouette moves across the horizon to starboard. Steel funnels through a channel that leaves little margin for error. The Iranian vessel knows that. Everyone here does. CPA decreasing. The report is delivered without emotion. Closest point of approach is now under 3 nautical miles. At these speeds, minutes collapse into seconds. The officer of the deck confirms the numbers. The captain gives a single nod. No course change, no speed change. This ship will not be the first to flinch. Another bridge-to-bridge hail goes out, measured and unmistakable. Distance, bearing, safe separation required. The answer is the same as before. Silence broken only by the soft hiss of open water through the speaker. Inside the Combat Information Center, tracks flare across the displays and then settle into order as the systems process the traffic picture. Commercial vessels are identified, projected, and pushed lower in priority. The Iranian contact stays marked. Its speed profile is logged once more. Still higher than necessary, still higher than reasonable for these waters. The Iranian vessel accelerates for the 3rd time. At that point, it no longer feels accidental. It feels like pressure. On the bridge, attention shifts from the plot to the horizon and back again. Long-range optics refine the image. Activity on the Iranian deck now looks more deliberate. Crew movement gathers forward, then spreads out. No weapons are visibly manned. That is recorded too. What is missing can matter just as much as what is present. Below deck, the electronic warfare team listens more closely. Faint emissions repeat, low power sweeps brushing the edge of detectability. Not fire control behavior, not at this stage, but active and deliberate. Every pulse is captured, time-stamped, and added to a growing pattern library. The destroyer still does not answer with emissions of its own. In this environment, restraint has value. CPA drops to 2 nautical miles. The number lingers in the room. 2 miles is close enough to read intent without optics. Close enough that even a small turn, deliberate or not, can trigger reactions neither side is willing to admit it wants. The 5-inch gun mount stays exactly where it is, visible and still. The point has already been made. Repeating it would change nothing. The helicopter crew receives another update. Ready status confirmed. Engines remain cold. The aircraft stays chained to the deck. Presence is one step, launch is another. The Iranian vessel shifts again, and this time holds the new course longer. Its bow angle now suggests a shallow intercept rather than a parallel transit. The geometry draws tighter, like a knot being pulled. A commercial container ship passes between the 2 warships at distance, its stacked steel boxes forming a moving wall. For a moment, the Iranian contact is partly masked. Radar never drops it. Optics pick it up again within seconds. Out here, the sea does not offer much concealment. Another hail goes out, shorter and firmer. Unsafe approach. Alter course immediately. Still no response. The destroyer's bridge remains steady, almost clinical. No raised voices, no wasted movement. Procedure carries the moment. Logs fill line by line. Cameras continue recording without pause. The Iranian vessel briefly reduces speed, then builds it back again. A test. A probe. The kind of adjustment meant to measure reaction. There is none. The destroyer keeps its course, keeps its speed. The captain understands that in close quarters, unpredictability can drive events faster than any visible weapon. Below, analysts mark the pattern. Bursts of speed followed by tiny corrections. Silence on the radio, active sensing without commitment. This is not ordinary navigation, it is choreography. CPA updates again. 1.8 nautical miles. That number crosses an invisible threshold. Not a legal line, a practical one. The margin for error shrinks to seconds. Any abrupt helm input, any bad read, can start a chain of events no checklist can easily contain. The captain gives a quiet order. Prepare the helicopter for possible launch. No rush, no dramatic announcement, just readiness. On the Iranian ship, movement on deck begins to slow. Personnel gather closer to the superstructure and farther from the bow. The optics catch the change. Small, but real. Pressure moves in both directions. For the first time since the encounter began, the Iranian vessel holds its speed without increasing it. It keeps its course without another correction. The line remains aggressive, but the rhythm changes. The destroyer does not ease off. This is not resolution, it is a transition. The encounter has moved beyond the approach and into a test of endurance. Minutes matter now. Who can hold position longer? Who reveals more? Who decides that pressing any closer is no longer worth the image of doing it? At sea, restraint is not weakness. It is control, and in the Strait of Hormuz, control is the rarest thing on the water. 0551 local time. Nothing erupts, no one turns away. That is the illusion. The danger here is not sudden noise, It is accumulation. Inside the Combat Information Center, the destroyer is gaining an advantage no one outside can see. Electronic warfare consoles glow softly as lines of data build into recognizable patterns. Every emission from the Iranian vessel, each low-power sweep, each brief pulse, arrives cleanly in the receivers. Frequency, duration, repetition, everything is logged, tagged, and stored. The ship still does not answer in kind. Silence is not passivity, it is discipline. On the bridge, the captain watches the plot grow heavier with context. This is no longer a single encounter. It is becoming a real-time data set. The Iranian vessel continues to operate just below the threshold, active enough to probe, restrained enough to deny clear intent. That narrow space is where gray zone encounters happen and where they often come apart. The helicopter deck crew receives the order they expected, but never rushed toward. Unchain, power on. The MH-60R comes to life slowly and deliberately. No scramble, no outward urgency. Rotor blades begin to turn in a controlled, measured rhythm. This is presence, not provocation. Optics on the Iranian vessel catch the change almost immediately. Personnel pause, heads tilt upward, movement on deck contracts inward, drifting away from exposed positions. The helicopter has not even lifted off yet, but the message is already understood. The Iranian vessel's emissions change. A brief spike, then a reduction. Analysts mark the moment. This is adjustment under observation. Someone on the other bridge is recalculating risk. The destroyer keeps listening. Below deck, analysts compare the live feed with earlier encounters, past recordings, archived signatures. Similarities begin to surface. The differences matter even more. The way this ship modulates power, the timing between sweeps, the hesitation after it realizes it is being watched, every detail sharpens the picture. Then the helicopter lifts. It does not rush at the Iranian vessel. It climbs to a steady altitude, arcs wide, and settles into a parallel observation track. Now the cameras are airborne. Forward-looking infrared paints heat across steel. High-resolution optics resolve faces, posture, and hand movement. The helicopter is not there to threaten. It is there to observe and to make observation unmistakable. The Iranian vessel answers without speaking. Speed remains steady. Course stays assertive, but no longer tightens. The bow still points into the intercept geometry, but the pressure has changed shape. This is no longer a push. It is a hold. A green laser flickers briefly across the Iranian bridge windows. Non-lethal, non-verbal, impossible to misunderstand. The beam is steady, controlled, exact. Then the helicopter loudspeaker follows, calm and professional. Identify yourself. You are operating unsafely in international waters. Alter course. This time, the silence feels different. On the Iranian deck, movement quickens, but not toward the bow. Personnel step back from exposed positions. One figure raises an arm to shield against the glare. Another points toward the helicopter, then back toward the bridge. The destroyer records it all. Electronic emissions drop again. The Iranian vessel is not going dark, but it is becoming quieter. Analysts mark the shift. This looks defensive. This looks like recognition. The destroyer does not pursue. The helicopter holds its orbit, never crossing the bow, never cutting off room to maneuver. Pressure without enclosure. Observation without entanglement. This is how information dominance works. You allow the other side just enough freedom to show you who it is. For the first time since 0523, a transmission cracks across the radio. Broken, measured, carefully chosen. The Iranian vessel identifies itself and refers to proximity to national waters. It asks the destroyer to alter course. The captain listens without interruption. When he answers, his voice is short and exact. This is a United States Navy warship conducting lawful transit in international waters. Your movements are being recorded. Maintain safe separation. No threats, no lectures, just facts. The Iranian vessel alters course by a few degrees, then a few more. CPA begins to open, slowly and almost reluctantly. Speed drops by 2 knots, then another. The helicopter remains airborne, cameras fixed, recording the withdrawal frame by frame. There is no celebration, no announcement on the bridge. The destroyer remains exactly what it was before. Steady, lawful, and controlled. But the balance has changed, because over the course of 40 minutes, the Iranian vessel did not simply fail to force a reaction. It gave away something more valuable. Its patterns, its limits, its instincts under pressure. The real trap was never force, it was patience. And patience at sea leaves no smoke behind. Only records. 06:07 local time. The clock matters now, not because anything dramatic is happening, but because nothing is. In close encounters, time itself becomes pressure. Every minute a ship holds posture without escalation changes the balance. The Iranian vessel continues on its adjusted heading, but only just barely. The shift is slight, just enough to widen the CPA, not enough to resemble a withdrawal. Speed steadies, then flickers. The geometry opens by fractions, and in waters like these, fractions mean everything. Aboard the destroyer, the bridge keeps the same rhythm. Reports come in, reports are acknowledged, no commentary, no guessing. The captain's attention moves between the surface plot and the horizon, checking for one thing above all: consistency. Consistency means control. Commercial traffic thickens again. Two tankers pass in opposite directions, their wakes crossing and then dissolving behind them. The strait goes on, doing what it always does, pushing global commerce through a narrow passage. The Iranian vessel understands that the audience has grown. Every move now is visible to more radars, more lenses, more witnesses. The helicopter stays on station, offset and patient. Its orbit is deliberate, wide enough to avoid provoking, close enough to remove doubt. Sensors remain fixed. Recording never pauses. Below deck, analysts continue building the timeline. Initial acceleration, repeated course changes, emissions tapering off, delayed radio identification. Every step is pinned to the clock. The pattern suggests strain, not mechanical, but mental. Decisions are being made, reconsidered, and weighed again under pressure. The Iranian vessel tries one more subtle adjustment, adding a single knot of speed. The move lasts less than a minute before it is reversed. A test, quickly abandoned. The destroyer does not react. The helicopter does not change altitude. Silence remains in place. This is the stage where many encounters begin to unravel. The moment one side realizes that pressure is no longer creating leverage, only creating exposure. The longer it continues, the clearer the record becomes. A second radio call comes through, more assured than the first, but still carefully measured. The wording is formal, the tone is controlled. It restates position and frames the request as routine. The captain answers once. Lawful transit, maintain separation. That is the end of the exchange. The posture on the Iranian deck changes again. Personnel gather closer to the superstructure. The bow clears. Optics confirm no weapons visibly manned. Heat signatures cluster away from the forward edge. The ship is now protecting itself from cameras, from interpretation, from unnecessary risk. Speed drops another step. CPA opens beyond 2.5 nautical miles. 47 minutes since first contact. The number is logged quietly, but it matters. It defines endurance. For 47 minutes, the destroyer has held course through pressure, traffic, and close proximity. For 47 minutes, the Iranian vessel has been forced to decide whether to intensify the situation or step back. It chooses distance. At first, the course change is subtle, then impossible to miss. The intercept geometry falls apart. What remains is parallel motion and then separation. The Iranian ship slides outward, widening the lane and giving up the centerline it had tried to claim. No announcement marks the shift, no visible signal, just mathematics resolving in real time. The helicopter briefly tightens its orbit to confirm the change is genuine. Cameras capture the widening wake angle and the shrinking bow on profile. Once verified, the aircraft settles back into its offset track. The destroyer stays steady. There is no pursuit, no shadowing beyond what safety demands. Electronic emissions from the Iranian vessel fall back to baseline navigation levels. Analysts flag the transition. The probing phase is over. The encounter has entered its final form. On the bridge, posture does not change. That is deliberate. In moments like this, control looks exactly like routine. Anything more invites the wrong interpretation. The Iranian vessel is now clearly outside an unsafe CPA. Distance grows minute by minute. Around both ships, the strait returns to its familiar rhythm. Commerce moving, wakes crossing, radar tracks settling into predictable lines. The helicopter receives instructions to remain airborne a little longer, not as a warning, but as documentation. The destroyer's log closes out the incident timeline. Start time, end state, distances, communications, emissions, visual confirmation. The record is complete. There are no celebrations, no relieved laughter. The bridge sounds exactly as it did before sunrise. Calm, procedural, professional. Because the goal was never to win a moment. It was to establish a line, hold it under pressure, and leave behind a record stronger than any confrontation. In the Strait of Hormuz, restraint is not the absence of action. It is action sustained. 0642 local time. The helicopter recovers smoothly, rotor blades slow, chains are secured again. The deck returns to its normal shape as if nothing unusual ever happened. That appearance matters. Routine is the final message. On the surface plot, the Iranian vessel continues to open the distance. Its track bends outward, then settles into a compliant transit lane. Speed stabilizes at a level consistent with safe passage. No further course changes, no renewed emissions. The encounter ends without a final statement. The destroyer never alters course. Inside the Combat Information Center, the work shifts from vigilance to confirmation. Analysts replay the timeline in compressed form, reducing minutes to frames, frames to data points. The sequence is clean, the escalation path is clear, the response is exact. This is how encounters end when one side controls the tempo. The captain makes one more pass across the bridge, scanning the horizon and the plot with the same measured calm that carried the ship through the entire standoff. There is no closing speech, no summary delivered aloud. The crew does not need anyone to explain what just happened. They felt it in the rhythm of the reports, in the steady helm, in the complete absence of panic. What mattered most was not what the destroyer chose to do. It was what it refused to do. No aggressive maneuvering, no reactive emissions, no overtly hostile posture beyond visible readiness. The ship remained lawful, steady, and patient, forcing every meaningful decision onto the vessel closing in. That is why the outcome carried more weight than any warning shot ever could. By choosing to break off, the Iranian vessel confirmed what 47 minutes of pressure had already revealed: its thresholds, its comfort zone, and its limits. Under continuous observation, the destroyer gained something more valuable than extra distance. It gained behavior. Every surge in speed, every abandoned probe, every delayed transmission. Each detail is now part of a lasting record, time-stamped, cross-checked, and stored far beyond the horizon of this single transit. Not for spectacle, but for understanding. The surface picture settles back toward normal. Merchant traffic takes over again, icons flowing north and south through the narrow throat of the strait. The Iranian contact slips back into the pattern of lawful transit, almost indistinguishable from any other hull carrying steel across the water. From the outside, it looks uneventful. That is the illusion. Because the effect of restraint rarely shows itself in the moment. It spreads outward later, into command centers, analysis cells, and planning rooms where encounters are measured not in drama, but in data. The conclusion arrives quietly. Pressure was applied, and it worked. No confrontation was needed to make the point. No escalation was required to establish the boundary. Aboard the destroyer, the watch rotates. Fresh eyes take over. Coffee replaces adrenaline. Logs are signed, reviewed, and filed. The ship continues its transit exactly as planned, unchanged in speed and unchanged in mission. For the crew, this is not an exception. It is competence under pressure. For Tehran, the experience lands differently. The message it likely meant to send, presence through proximity, never produced the effect it wanted. Instead of forcing a reaction, it triggered observation. Instead of shaping behavior, it exposed it. That realization does not arrive over the radio or in flashing bridge lights. It comes later, in reviews and briefings, when the timeline is replayed without emotion. When 47 minutes are stripped down to their meaning, the result is simple. The destroyer did not back away. It did not provoke. It did not flinch. It held. In contested waters, holding is never passive. It is a deliberate act that steadily removes the other side's options. The longer that posture is maintained, the fewer choices remain. By the time the Iranian vessel widened its course, the real decision had already been made. Not on the destroyer's bridge, but on the bridge of the ship approaching it. Distance had become the only safe outcome left. The Strait of Hormuz looks ordinary again. Sunlight hardens across the water. Wakes flatten and disappear. Radios return to routine traffic. To anyone watching from the outside, this morning would seem forgettable. But restraint leaves marks that are invisible from the surface. It leaves records. And records shape the next encounter long before the first radar return appears.